This is episode 44 of Entrepreneurs for a Change. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to our mailing list at entrepreneursforachange.com. Are you ready to be the change? If so, you've come to the right place. You are about to join a movement of entrepreneurs who are empowering people, saving the planet, and turning their passion into profits while creating the lifestyle of their dreams. If you don't believe us, check out our website at entrepreneursforachange.com. A place where you can be inspired, mentored, and supported by a tribe of change-making entrepreneurs just like you. Hello, amazing changemakers. This is Lorna Lee, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Entrepreneurs for a Change, a web show about evolutionary entrepreneurs who are changing the world, making an impact, and designing businesses that allow them to live life on their own terms. Now, the field of business coaching is growing and becoming increasingly specialized. If you're an entrepreneur who loves helping others, being a mentor, and giving advice, you can easily create a side business offering your industry expertise as a business coach. Some entrepreneurs have found coaching to be so lucrative that their coaching programs now drive the lion's share of their revenue outside of the core service that they provide. And if coaching is your full-time shtick, you can build a 7-figure coaching business within 3 years if you do it right. With us today is Shanda Sumpter, who is the founder and queen visionary of Heartcore Business, a 7-figure coaching and training company that she grew from scratch. What I love about her company culture is that she designed a 3 weeks on, 1 week off lifestyle business model where she and everyone who works for her gets to take the last week of every month off. That's right, that's an extra week a month of engaging in your passions, doing charitable work, going on road trips, you name it, and all without working harder during the 3 weeks that you are on. Shanda has transformed her clients' financial lives and helped them build strong, lucrative online networks through her training and marketing program called the #1 resource to do what you love, make more money, and live the life you want. In this in-depth interview, Shanda cuts to the chase and reveals the minimum viable audience necessary to generate a 6 or 7-figure coaching or consulting income. Her secret method to list building that doesn't require hosting an exhausting, all-consuming telesummit event. Why knowing and loving who you are keeps your business strong and consistent. Why working towards a goal is better than working within your limitations. The correct order of establishing an online coaching or consulting business from scratch. And much, much more. Tools, people, and resources mentioned in this interview can be found in the show notes at entrepreneursforachange.com/44. Now, before diving into the interview, I want to encourage you to rate, review, and download Entrepreneurs for a Change on iTunes. This really helps us reach more people with inspiring stories of entrepreneurs who are changing the world. Also, if these stories inspire you to start a world-changing business of your own, head over to our website at entrepreneursforachange.com and download the Business Changemakers Toolkit to get a jumpstart today. Now on
Shanda,
to the show.
It's truly a pleasure to have you with me on the show, and I'm really excited to speak to other women entrepreneurs who work with heart-centered entrepreneurs to show us that there is another way to run our businesses. So I'd love for you to share with our audience who you are and what you do.
Who I am pretty much a woman just like you, trying to make a living. No, just kidding. I work with entrepreneurs who want to make money and make a difference. And I would say if you were to sum me up as, you know, obviously I'm a business owner and I'm really focused on creating recurring incomes in people's lives so that they can make a bigger difference in the world. But there's more to me than just work. Like, I love to do triathlons because I love the way that it teaches me how to get stronger mentally in my mind and get more physically fit. I love to, like I said to my triathlon coach last month, I said, you know, really mess with my schedule and make it really hard so that I can learn how to manage through that. I learned that Michael Phelps won the Olympics in his swimming because his coach used to mess with his goggles. And when he was in his race in the Olympics, his goggles got all messed up. And it was because he knew how to deal with that hardship that he was able to work his way through that and essentially win the Olympics. And so, you know, it's kind of like a little bit about what you and I were talking about, Lorna, before we even started this interview, which was I love to stretch out of my comfort zone. and see how long I can hang out in the pain and actually transform that pain into enjoying it. It sounds very strange, but that's kind of the mentality of who I am. My assistant was asking me today. She used to be a client of mine, and now she's an assistant for our company, and she's not staying as an assistant. She has to work with us, under us, for about a year before she moves into a marketing position. And she said, I just want to know, what makes you tick and what has you constantly drive to build more in your life when you really don't have to anymore. And I said, I can always tell. And this kind of just gives you some insight on who I am and how I think and what happens outside of the office. And what happens is whenever I'm feeling moody, or especially when I'm nitpicking at the person that I love, it's an immediate trigger and cue to me that I'm off purpose. And my goal is ever striving to figure out, is there a way of operating in my life where I can be on purpose, because ultimately I feel like that's your happy spot. Like my boyfriend Ash always says, if you're ever in any sort of a down mood or like just not, like I wake up in the morning, I'm like, good morning, like I'm just kind of notorious for it. But if I ever wake up and I'm feeling off at all, he's like, you just got to jump on the phone and work with your clients, and you just light right back up. And the reason being is because at that moment I'm giving. And so I am fascinated with that space that we all have the opportunity to get into, which is that flow of where we're truly giving from a place, not just to make money or not just to get what we want, but ultimately know that we're doing certain things. Like we know that A plus B will equal C and give us that monetary value or that fulfillment value, but it's in the work that the pleasure is in. And so I'm always fascinated with that space. Does that give you an insight a little bit?
Mm-hmm, sure, certainly. But I'd love to, uncover what exactly your business is.
Mainly, we're a business coaching company. So we used to only coach women entrepreneurs. Now we do coach some men entrepreneurs in our communities as well, because we find that it brings in an interesting balance. Men are extremely focused. Women are very multitask orientated. So we teach entrepreneurs in our training community basically 3 different focuses. We first off run a program called Pace Club, which we teach the foundation. There's people that have been in business for 5, 6, 10 years, and they're still not making money. And they're still doing it the hard way. And when you look at statistics, at least in America and Canada, people who are coaches, like most of them don't even make $20,000 a year. I just heard that, I think it was something like 60,000 was in the top percentage of Americans, and that, or globally, if you made 60,000, you were in the top percentage of people who make money. I think it was 60,000. It was a few weeks ago when I heard this. But what was amazing to me is it was 300,000 if you were an American to be in the top percentage. And I sit there and I go, at 300,000, you're actually just starting to open up to creativity. And so my company, and I'm on a major mission to take people who are just starting or who have been in business for a long time and build a foundation under them where they have a subscriber list and they know how to sell to that list. That's our Pace Club. When somebody graduates from that program, they go into our marketing mastery. That's where we get innovative. I'm looking to put more pleasure behind what people are doing because they have a foundation that I can do it with. It's kind of like what I was just saying to you. Like one woman made 30,000 today, another woman made 140,000 in 2 weeks. Both of these women were nervous about the coaching fee of paying me at the beginning of this year, right? So our marketing mastery program helps to innovate and create some fun and some freedom after we have the foundation put in. And then we have private coaching, which has been sold out for the last 3 years. We haven't even marketed it for the last 3 years. But people have opportunities where they can come in and do like full day intensives with me. We call them VIP days, where I walk through strategy and look at 1 year, 2 year, and 3 years out. And year 2 and 3 will change as the entrepreneur makes more money. They start to dream bigger. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So help me understand, is the Pace Club more of a online program with a methodology that people follow and with group coaching calls?
It is. We do group a little different, though, Lorna. I find that most group programs and home study programs don't work. And so what we do is we bring in private coaching to our group programs. And for instance, like our staff meeting call today was pay attention over the next 2 weeks to anybody who's not showing up so that we can reach out, go in, start calling them and find out what's going on so that we can pull them back out so that they can perform. So ultimately, we do all of our programs virtually because we're all about, as long as you got a laptop and a computer and internet service and either Skype or a cell phone, you can do business anywhere in the world. And I've done it. I mean, I've done business from Bali. I've done business from Barbados for 3 months. I woke up this morning and I was saying, kind of feel like going to France. You know what I mean? Like just randomly. So it's, we do all of our programs virtually to give me a certain quality of life and to teach women that they can raise children or travel around the world or be as, they can make as many millions as they want and not necessarily have to be tied down to a certain building or place. So with that being intact of a big message that we do, we teach a lot of virtual. But we always do have a live component where they come together. Like, for instance, in our PACE Club, the first 90 days we teach them how to build a list. Then the rest of the year we teach them how to sell to it. So it's actually a money-making program. But they won't start making money until month 4. At the end of the 12-month program, about month 10, we have them all fly in from Germany, from Australia, from the UK, from Canada, from America, and they fly into typically San Diego, California, because it's a nice place to visit and it's where I live. And I teach about really designing your business and your business around your life comes first, and then your business goes around that to like hug it. And so I typically like to stay in my backyard because it's beautiful. And so we'll have our live retreats here where the PACE Club or any of our other programs will get to meet each other. Now imagine this. I've now built your list for you. I've showed you how to sell to it. Now I've networked you with, another 100 or 200, people who you've watched them in the Facebook group. You know them through the Facebook group. You've heard them on the weekly calls. And now you've met them, and now they're armed with databases where they can partner with you. It's a very, very, very powerful model. So we put that foundation under, and then we show you how to take advantage of opportunity. And here's a big message that I'd like to get out into the world. Stop chasing possibility. Stop doing things that are just possibly going to result in more money or more freedom. Like I hear this all the time. Shanda, I just got this really great opportunity where this woman who owns this community is going to promote me if I just go do this work with her and I handle this, and then this is a great opportunity. You don't even know what the opportunity is, right? Like, why not fund yourself so that you own your databases, so that you own your programs, so that you know how to actually make your money, and then you can innovate from there. And so I would love people to actually create stability versus chasing possibility.
Definitely. I would say that your list, your database is really like the foundation of your business. And
it's your economy. When the economy dumped in real estate, I owned a database and did over $100 million in sales. Okay, so that's because I owned a database. Everybody else was losing their ass, and we were making money, right? The economy still sucks, at least in America. It definitely still is hard. And, and the funny thing is I sit there and I think good is really not that good. Like where most people are living really is not that good. And so if people would take the time to build a proper community and actually learn how to sell to that community, and you do not have to be a marketing genius to do this. I mean, an everyday mom who's never worked a day in her life, as long as you have a piece of your life that you've been successful somewhere, meaning that, like if I asked you, where have you been successful? If you can say, I raised 2 amazing children, and here's why they're amazing, and you're gloating about it, you're almost cocky about it, this is a good sign. It doesn't always have to be somebody who's great at business. But if somebody can't say that, I actually say don't build a business. You need to go do some personal development work, some self-love work.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the foundation of being a professional change maker, especially a purpose-driven entrepreneur, is to really know yourself first. And, because knowing who you are is a foundation for everything, because anything can happen. You can lose your business. I spoke recently to a seven-figure transformational entrepreneur, and, she, at a certain point in time went bankrupt. She had a seven-figure business and it all went away. And, her takeaway from that is, if you know who you are, and especially if you love and accept who you are, and you know who you came here to be in this world and what you came here to do, then a lot of things can happen around you and to you, but it'll never take that away, that core foundation of strength. So Shanda, can you tell me more about the entrepreneurs you work with? Are they all primarily coaches and aspiring coaches, or are they a wide range of different types of business owners?
I would say about 80% of them are coaches, consultants, financial advisors in some sort of sales and services. We do have retail owners, like owning retail shops. We do have some spa owners. So we do have other businesses as well. I think mainly because my background is not on online marketing. I developed online marketing and taught myself online marketing and studied it and invested in learning from some of the best, and then innovated into my business background. But yeah, so I think it obviously comes down to people know that I'm a coach, and so a lot of coaches gravitate towards me. I will tell you that they are entrepreneurs though that do want to make a difference in the world.
Yeah. I can, say I'm really intrigued by the whole coaching business myself, because, people like Tony Robbins, for example, are able to achieve phenomenal success, not just, for himself financially, but just in really impacting and changing the lives of other people, inspiring them to be the best that they can be. So, that's, it's kind of fascinating. I never thought that, the idea that a coach could be a seven-figure coach was something that was a fairly new discovery for me, because I too, like you mentioned, tend to know a lot more coaches that struggle in the five-figure realm rather than, are achieving that, multiple six-figure or seven-figure success.
It's really not that hard though, Lorna. It's really not that hard to do it. You know what I think the challenge is people don't think. And I mean that with love and support and respect. People just don't think. It's like, I mean, really, you want to know how to get to seven figures? Build a list. 3,000 to 5,000 people on your list. You should be making multiple six figures. If you're not, you have a sales problem. You get more to 8 to 10,000 people, you can move yourself into seven figures. And that's the God honest truth. Year one should be about putting the foundation underneath you. You can make, some people who are rock stars will make 100,000. I've seen people do it in 6 months from scratch to start. I think that's just extraordinary. I think the normal person within 12 to 16 months, if they have a proper coach in front of them, they listen to what the coach says. They stay out of drama. When I say that, it's like, there's self-doubt, there's insecurities. All of that stuff comes up when you build a business. If you're willing to walk through it and just do the work anyway and think differently and think, okay, every problem I solve, I get more freedom. Every problem I solve, I get more freedom. Then what happens is you start to become addicted to solving the problems. So it changes your connection to how you're building your business versus, oh shit, I can't find somebody with a 5,000 person list to interview, or I'm just really, like, my database is dead and they don't respond to my emails. That's going to happen all the way along as you build your business. And what I mean by this is, as your business is growing, you're going to run into multiple problems. Every time you solve one, another one should show up. And so if you keep getting stuck on the problem, you don't get to go further. What I see constantly is that people hit problems and they never move through them. They repackage them, they rejournal about them, they get more inspired about the plan that they're going to work to get out of it, but they don't actually ever complete anything they start. And again, I mean this with so much respect, but that's the only gap. It's not that these people can't make the money. They're just not seeing that the connection to their freedom is solving that problem of getting through, I want to sleep in. I don't want to do this interview at 6:30 at night. It's like walking through these moments that we don't want to do. I say all the time, I don't care what you want to do. I care your end vision of where you want to go. The journey to that, you are definitely not going to want to do some pieces of it. And I don't care. And what makes you pro is that you step into it and you do it anyway, and it's never as bad as you think. And then you stand on the other side of it with this big, glowing, beaming, love for yourself and respect for yourself because you did it. And you're that much stronger. And then you get the benefits of what that yields. So year one should be, somewhere up to $100,000, $80,000 to $100,000. Year two, you should double that. So you're looking somewhere around 200,000. Year three, you should be playing around in the 300,000 to 500,000 mark. Then it doubles. You go into $1,800,000 to $1 million. By year five, everybody could be making $1 million if they were doing it right. And I know that's such a bold statement to say, but the only thing that stops people from doing it is they really honestly just stop at the drama. And they think that, put it this way, I never have the money to do the next big thing I want. You know why? Because these little doors keep opening up in my head that are bigger than I ever thought I was going to go. And the event looks bigger, or the moving a sales team down to San Diego, or buying a bigger house, or, as I learn who I am, as you learn who you are, as the entrepreneur makes more money, as they walk through those small problems, then what happens is these big problems come up and you can handle them because you've already practiced. It's like the reason why, I love training for triathlons or races. It's like, I don't even really get off on the race. I really don't. I get off on the training because what it takes for me to do it, what it takes for me to keep going when somebody's way ahead of me on the bike and my legs are burning and the drama starts to seep in my head that I can't do it, that I'm not strong enough, that they do Ironmans, that they do this, that they do that. And the minute that drama starts coming in, it doesn't even get to the point that they do Ironmans. I stop it before it even gets going. And through that conditioning, I'm problem solving. Can I focus on my breathing right now? What can I focus on to start pulling myself out of where I'm going to make me stronger? My body can handle more than I think it can. Your brain is connected with all of those solution-driven activities. And so, when I look at an entrepreneur, and we say this all the time in my company, focus. Right now, Pace Clubs they started in April, May. So, they're literally, a month and a half in right now. They're literally on how do you find your experts right now and how do you find good experts, right? And do you know what they want to know? They want to know, what am I going to sell? They want to know, what is my opt-in page going to look like? They want to know, what is my sales campaign going to look like? They want to know, when should I be hiring my VA? When if they would practice getting intimate with the step that they're in right this second, they will be much more successful. The people who listen to me, and I talk just like this to them. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't treat them like they're new business owners. I treat them like they're human beings. They're intelligent human beings. I'm going to talk to them as if I would be talking to any of my seven-figure, multi-seven-figure friends. And I'm going to say, just stay intimate in the process and you'll succeed. Just worry about finding experts. When your 21 experts are there, I promise you'll have the rest of the equation to take your next step. But people are such control freaks, they're trying to figure out, how do I feel better in this space of uncertainty? And it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. I don't know anybody who doesn't have a complete body breakdown or mental breakdown where they're taking Prozac to be able to manage the stress, or they're giving up their business. I mean, how many people have you seen give up their business because they don't want to be that stressed out? It doesn't have to look that way. You need to let go of control. You need to stay in the present moment. If you're not making money, I guarantee you either don't have a list or you don't know how to sell to it. And really, it comes down to that simplicity. I mean, I have clients right now making $200,000 that still don't know what they're going to sell. They still don't know what their ultimate product or service is going to be. But guess what? They're getting paid and they're learning the step that they need to learn, and they're making a difference for the people that they're serving based on what they've already experienced in life, meaning that there's always people that want something you have, right? So that's where we start as we're in the journey of figuring out what you really want. Where most people are like, let me figure all this out and get it perfect on a piece of paper. And if I can do that, then I know I'll go and do this and I'll be successful. Wrong. That control is going to stop you all the way along, because you're going to want to make sure you have the money before you invest. You're going to want to make sure that I don't even look at the food that's going to be served at my event. Do you know that there was a time in my life that I would have had to see every piece of food that was being served because nobody could do it better than me? That's a control freak. That hurt me for so many years. The roller coaster of making money, losing money, always counting money. You know, Ash is my boyfriend, and when we talk about our future together, I'm like, don't ever put me on a budget. Give me a goal to work towards. Tell me what I need to produce. Tell me where we need to go. That's fun. That has me in the flow of creation. And I learned that from my spiritual trainers, you know, versus trying to work within the limitations of what I already have. Now, I guess that's fine if you never want to grow. But you know what happens when that happens is you get depressed. You start to bitch at your partner. You start to gain weight. You start to have fights with your friends and your family. You start to be unappreciative towards your clients. You start to not like your business because you're freaking bored. Do you get it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, in listening to you describe this whole scenario, so many questions come up for me. But let me start with the one that I've been wanting to ask you for a while, which is, what is the minimum viable audience then? So, you know, you're saying, okay, basically there's two core problems. You don't have a list, or you don't know how to sell your list. So is there a, you know, minimum number of people you need to have on your list before it becomes a viable database to generate an $80,000, $100,000 livelihood from?
Well, I'll tell you that I just trained a bookkeeper, and she only had a 500-person list build. And that is, she knows where she broke down in her list build. She didn't hold a list build minimum for people that she actually interviewed, which I suggest always a 5,000-person minimum. But, you know, when we do a lot of our interview series, I hold a bar anywhere between 10, 15,000. I have friends that hold a bar around 25,000 before they would interview and partner with them. But as far as, like, to answer your question, she built a list of 500 people. When she was done doing her list, because we packaged her differently, we stopped just taking clients for any dollar amount. We got her off the dollar, like, rent your accountant for dollar, you know, pay them per hour. We got her out of that, and we created 3 packages. And within 2 weeks, she made $62,000.
Love it. Okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So really, it's really hard to say as far as that's concerned. You know, when I look at 500 people on a list, I look at those are 500 potential people. Now, if we can't get a couple clients out of that, that's because we're either not speaking the message that they're looking for. So that's that problem solving, right? Like, it's like the opportunities in front of you, you can convert out of it. You just need to problem solve versus making the problem real. Can you see a little bit about how we think? You know, so now the focus for her that built the 500, she's doing another list build now. So it's like, you kind of, you skip some steps, so you got a lower list build. Most of our entrepreneurs, when they do their first list build anywhere from 1,700 to 2,300 on the first list build. But some people innovate the process because they're scared, right? They somehow think that what I'm teaching them won't work for them, or they don't want to They don't want to feel bad by telling somebody, I do apologize, but your list isn't the minimum we're looking for this project, but I'd love to work with you later. They're afraid to say that because they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Ultimately, they're more concerned about being liked than they am about building their business. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's the transformational stuff that needs to get taken care of. Otherwise, they'll continue to work too hard, right? Building a business isn't actually hard. It's the shit you put in front of it that makes it hard. So it's not really the tipping point is 5,000. That's when, because at 5,000, you can be playing I really think the sweet spot of income is 300,000. I think that who you become as a person grows massively. I think your generosity grows massively. I think the way you have to think to get to 300,000, you're opening up. As you're making more money, you're opening up, right? Because you have to let go of more control to keep going, right? But then there's this big jump that happens between 300,000 and 500,000, and you see a complete transformation in the person. It's very wild. It's extremely wild, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I want to be. And, when I envision what life might look like for me at that level, I mean, it just seems so delightful. So I'm really curious about your list building process that you take your clients to the Pace Club through. So can you describe more about that, this 21 expert interview series? And is that a telesummit or is that another process altogether? What do they do?
It is a telesummit. We innovated it about 2 years ago where we started teaching a video version of it. And now we actually even teach a live stream version of it. So what's the best way to answer your question? So you can do the same format on any of those platforms. Here's why I love it. There are so many naysayers out there that say, oh, telesummits are overused and they don't work anymore. And I sit there and say, the last 3 telesummits that I've spoken on, I've made 20,000, 25,000, and almost 40,000 in the hour that I got interviewed. Okay, so that has a lot to do with I know my message and I know how to speak to my client and I'm very clear about what I'm up to. So the right person that's listening to me on an interview series is drawn out. Like I put it like I don't believe anybody should be winging it. I think you should be practicing and knowing your point of view so your tribe can gravitate towards you and then you just get out there, right? So with the telesummit version, the telesummit's obviously audio. And we choose the formula of interviewing 21 people, and we recommend that they all have a list of 5,000 people or more. Now, here's a little something, and I get this all the time. I just got somebody who's got an 80,000 person list that says they'll mail for me and they're a part of it. And then what they start doing is they look at the other 21,000 and they either take 21,000, the other 21 experts, and they either cut their summit short and only interview 14. It doesn't work that way. It's got to be 21. That's the sweet spot. Or that 90,000 person list doesn't pull the way you thought, right? Like I just was emailing with somebody this morning that has 1 million people on their database, and the owner of it spoke at my event, and they got a list of the people from my event because they were offering something to them at the event that just made it easier for them to deliver to them directly. Well, I got a message today and they were asking for some support on getting that product out to that list. And I said to them, have you not communicated with the list other than the one email 2 months ago? And they said, no, we don't hit our list. Here's why I'm sharing something with you. That 1 million person database might not, and I will tell you, if they don't communicate with it and do other telesummits or video series or podcasts or sending out newsletters, if they're not communicating it with it on an average, like I think it should be a weekly basis. It's like, Lorna, if you and I went walking every night at the end of our day, whether or not we have 2 best friends in other places, we're going to know more about each other than our best friends do. Because we're spending time together, we're talking, we're sharing. That's essentially the connection that needs to happen with the list. Unfortunately, many people don't want to work. They think sending out a weekly newsletter is too much work. And it comes back to what I said to you before we even jumped on this interview. It's like, I know it's work. That's what we get paid for. Like, it's part of it, right? So if you have an expert that has a big list but doesn't know how to connect with that list, then you're going to miss the currency piece, because connection always equals currency, right? Which currency for an interview in a list build means that you would have people joining your list from them mailing for you. You'll sometimes get more of that from a 5,000 person list than a 50,000 person list. Okay? We took over a coaching company that has, I think it was 75,000, and my existing 25,000 person list pulls way better than that list. That's like, I already know when we took it over last year that it's a 2-year process to build a relationship with that list, because they've been spammed constantly with just offers. They haven't been loved up, right? So I've been trusting them. So these are things that you cannot, and we teach in our PACE Club. It's too much work for you to go in there, and I use that word loosely, like, you'll never get your 21 experts in 90 days and get them interviewed and build the list. Like, you actually have a list at the end of 90 days if you do it right. You can't do all of that if you're sitting having hour conversations with everybody. Well, how often do you mail your list? It's just, that's not the point of it. So if you get 21 people, you can let go of control. The actual process can be a lot easier than it normally is. And we ask everybody to send a solo and a newsletter blurb. A solo and a newsletter blurb. We also do something where we offer a list share, and we teach this. We offer a list share where if you've got 3 experts that maybe really don't know you, and they really don't know you, and you really want them on the summit, and they're like, I just don't know if your summit's going to be very good. You could say, well, here's what I'll do for you. I've got an opportunity for 3 people to list share in this program. Meaning that if you'll mail 3 times a solo email, then I will share the list with you. And that gives you an extra pop on your list build, and it gets you some people that possibly might not interview if they don't know you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's really intriguing. How would you share the list? Do you just...
Well, you've got to put something on the opt-in page that signifies that, like a disclosure. You do have to do something like that, but what we do is we actually teach that those 3 people, obviously everybody signs an agreement, but they email their list 3 solos in a designated period of time, and 60 days after your summit is done, you will download the list and send it to them.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The reason why you wait 60 days is because you need to be able to launch your product or service after the video series or telesummit series or whatever. You've just spent the time to host a show, essentially. You've been Barbara Walters or Oprah, and you've hosted a show, and you've done all the work. At the end of the day, you've influenced these people, and now it's your opportunity, because they're hot, they're ready to purchase. It's your opportunity to make an offer and see if anybody is ready to step up.
Mm-hmm. Now, in my experience hosting a online event like that, so I also did a telesummit a while back, I found it to be a lot of work. I mean, it was literally about 2 months of working around the clock in order to be able to host this event. Is there any other type of list building strategy that you recommend for people that might be more gradual? That, let's say, okay, even if they did decide to do a telesummit style event or even a live stream, that between then and now they continue building their list in other more organic ways?
Well, you could break the telesummit up where you do an interview of the month. You know what I mean? Where it's a 12-month continuous grow, where you actually partner with the people, where you'll mail your database and they've got to mail their database. And you could probably innovate it very easily, where if they send out 2 newsletter blurbs and a solo, that you'll have that interview up there for 2 weeks, and you'll remind your list that it's up there twice. That's a powerful way to do it. You can also run Facebook ads. If you have a great expert, now there's a lot of great experts that unless they know you, won't mail for you. That's why I say your network is your net worth. Unless they love your topic. Like I've definitely had some, Marianne Williamson wouldn't mail for one of my friends that you go on her summit, and I'm not kidding you, she sells on her summit, and you make about $40,000 to $60,000 on one interview with her, okay? Marianne Williamson said no to speak on her summit. She's got about 200,000 people on her database. My newbie in my PACE Club, through the process that we teach, which has so much to do with loving what you're doing. I was listening to a Steve Jobs video today, and he was talking about, the connecting the dots to your life and how at the end of the day, loving what you're doing is just the most important thing, because you spend so much of your time working that when you die, that's a huge piece of you, and so we teach a very unique way of getting behind your passion of what you're doing, so it becomes an easier process. But Marianne Williamson said yes to her, and she didn't have a list at all, so I don't want to discourage anybody from going after it and going after the people that you want to speak to. But, we have to be honest that your network is your net worth. And when people know you and build a relationship with you, they're more willing to tap into their databases and share you. So until then, you can always do something where you can leverage people's names and pictures and stuff like that on Facebook. And you can create, and we've got a couple of our clients doing this now, you can create an opt-in page where you're actually driving traffic to it through Facebook ads. And this way you can actually target certain areas depending on your annual strategy of your business. Like, for instance, if you're doing a live event, you might want to pull a lot of people within, 100 miles of your area. And you can easily do that through Facebook. And you could use very credible people that you're interviewing to gain credibility with a cold audience and instantly warm them up. And share that interview with them. So there's so many ways to do it, Lorna. I mean, I would love to teach you the live stream version, but I mean, I really teach that over 3 hours, and it's a pretty big process. But we do a list build over live stream where we kind of host it like The View, and there's nobody out there that's doing it. Like it's a completely new list build version. But it's kind of like The View, and everybody gets behind creating and co-creating the content, which always makes a better show, right? When it's not just you coming up with the questions and the content and the theme, when you have a group of people doing that. So it's all problem solving, but you gotta do.
I love the live stream idea, and there's a part of me that's like, wow, I want to really do that and start a live stream show. The challenge that I'm seeing is, for me being based in Chiang Mai, Thailand, is that even though I do have pretty fast internet, for some bizarre reason the video doesn't really do so well on it. So when I have tried to record a video interview, for example, it always seems that the video freezes when one or both parties have the most awkward facial expression, and then it's just the audio.
Yeah, but it does happen, but often it doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. So my suggestion is maybe do some shorter clips, but you need to use livestream.com. It's very different, and you really do need somebody who can shoot that video for you.
Oh, like a videographer?
Yeah, you really do need it. Mm-hmm. But it's not expensive, and it's very inexpensive, and there's people all over the world that do this, and you get somebody and you cut a deal with them. If you're doing a show all the time and you're a regular scenario, you could honestly cut 2 or 3 shows all in a row. Yes, will it be work? Yeah, it will be work. But you could run those live streams like they're live afterwards. Do you see what I'm saying? To break down on your time. So once a month, you could really work hard for a day, and you might be getting up at an odd hour if you're doing some American people, right? But, you could knock out 3 or 4, 20-minute live streams with guests from different parts of the world, and you do Skype them in, but you have the videographer, and you invest like that, because here's the deal. Video creates a higher connection, and connection equals currency. It just does.
I completely agree.
So, it's worth your time to do it. It's worth your time.
Great. So, gosh, this interview has been so full of really valuable information. And we are coming close to the end of it. So I'd kind of like to conclude with, just the bigger picture. So, let's say, like, for someone who wants to build a coaching business like yours, what do you think is the most efficient way to get started, the correct order to do things? So let me tell you what I think is not the correct order to do things. I started as a blogger, and I blogged for years, and I discovered that blogging for most people isn't a business. So when I look back on it, I see, okay, the fastest course of action to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, looks like creating a bare bones website with an opt-in page, an autoresponder series, then doing a webinar presentation script for, to do joint venture marketing in order to pre-sell a course. So you do the presentation and script, and then you find JV partners to, present your webinar.
That's still a very hard way to do it.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's effective. But if you actually built the list first.
Okay.
If you actually built the list first, then everything that you're just saying is powerful, but I would hit my list up with that opportunity first, because I would always take care of them first. I do very little JV stuff. In fact, I don't know if you know this about me, Lorna, but a few years ago, I stopped taking joint venture affiliate fees. When I promote somebody to my database, I promote them to my database because my database actually needs them, and I never accept money. And I pay it. I mean, I don't expect other people to adopt my, the way that I do business, but it's my way of kind of taking a stand for people supporting each other and not just hawking stuff to our lists, right? It kind of keeps it a little bit cleaner. I make my money off of selling coaching, and, we do very well. We're well into the 7 figures. And it keeps growing. We're only 4 years old, right? So, if you put a list under what you just said. So I was screaming this last year from every stage that I got on. Number 1 is build a list. Number 2 is learn how to sell to that list. Until you do that effectively, you don't move to number 3. And number 3 is innovation. And what most people want to do is they want to innovate first. And you shouldn't be innovating first. Blogging, autoresponder series, evergreen products, all of that stuff. Blogging is how I educate my list. Webinars is how I train, sometimes for free, sometimes with an offer. I prefer live streams to my database versus anything else. And about once a year, I do something where I bring in like we're about to do something coming up in July where we're going to actually launch a product called List Power, which we did last year. And List Power is a program that we actually pulled out of our Pace Club to teach just the list building component, because it is so necessary and people are just missing it, right? So we will walk you through it, coach you through it, all of that over 90 days. So we have an opportunity for partners to work with us at that point. But that's the only time that we do it. And we pay affiliate fees for it, and we pay 50% affiliate fees for it. And it really is a loss leader for us because we sell the program for $9.97 and we're with you for 3 months. Right? And so, but our goal is if we can do a good job in teaching you how to build that list, which we have a 94% success rate, meaning that 94% of the people who actually go through our list building program build the list. And it's been like that since the beginning of last year. So we've gotten really good at teaching this component and having people walk through their fear, walk through their overwhelm, walk through all that chaos in their head that always has them stop and get them to the other side of that. We do not teach you how to sell to that list in List Power, but you have an opportunity at that point, if you build a list of 1,000 people or more, that you can now move into our marketing mastery, which then we teach you just crazy innovative stuff, and everybody in there has a list. Everybody partners together, and so it's kind of a built-in network. right? So you're not having to go out there and find cold people to work with to, leverage each other's databases and things like that. So we've literally created a global community that every year grows around that whole concept. So do you see how I was saying you're doing it the hard way the other way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, this light bulb is going off on the top of my head.
It doesn't have to be that hard. Mm-hmm. Everything they're doing, everything you just suggested is all right. Like, it's all right, but it's not in the right order.
Exactly.
And then
that's the key.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So can you share with us some tips on how to sell to this list? I mean, I know we don't have that much time, but what are some of the keys that we need to be aware of when we want to sell to our list?
Well, a goodie and an oldie that people tend to neglect, especially after having their businesses for a long time and making money, is we always survey our list every year. To give you an idea, it's the first thing I did when I took over the coaching company last year, like somebody else's coaching company. It's because you need to know where people are at. So here's a strategic way of surveying a list. It needs to be about 7 questions. And 7 or 8 questions. The 8th question would be, is there anything else you want me to know about you with a comment box? There's no comment box on any of the other 7 questions. It's all multiple choice. Now, say I had it on my heart to teach Facebook marketing, right? When we started focusing on Facebook, I just wanted to see how well we could do. Within a 30-day span, we made 6 figures. We made over $100,000 just from Facebook. Okay. And so if I wanted to teach that, I would survey my database and I would ask questions like, how many people do you have as your friend on Facebook? And I would have multiple choice, like some range in numbers. Then I might say, what is your number one challenge? Now, notice I'm not saying, do you want to learn how to market on Facebook? That's not what I'm asking. Mm-hmm. I'm asking, what is your biggest challenge with selling on Facebook? A, you feel too salesy. B, you don't know how to sell on Facebook. C, you don't have enough numbers or friends on Facebook. D, I don't want to market on Facebook. Nobody's going to pick D, right? They're going to probably tell me that I don't know what they would say if they're going to say they feel too salesy or they don't have enough numbers. But do you know, if they say I don't have enough numbers, my product that I'm selling, the marketing is going to be serving that. There's no use me talking into not feeling salesy on Facebook if that's not their problem. Do you see what I'm saying? So to give you an idea about the blogging, 3 years ago when I surveyed my database about what they wanted to know most in online marketing, it was blogging. So I had to really put out there, okay, I'll teach you how to blog. Connected with getting clients, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then when I resurveyed them the next year, it was their number one concern was attracting new clients. The same database. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That only grew very slightly. So my point is you never know. You think you know what your database wants, but unless you're connected, because connection equals currency, often people are selling the wrong products and services. Another thing people do is they create their product before they ever ask their list. I mean, it is so ass backwards. And the sad part is that I know some of these people want to make a bigger difference. Like their heart's in the right place, but then they get upset because they think it's the list's fault or the people in the world's fault. When really the problem is that you're doing things in the wrong order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the challenge too. I think I see for a lot of people, and I am guilty of this as well, where, there are, individual programs being, sold. It's like, okay, here's this program about how to, launch a telesummit. Here's another program about how to create an online course or how to do a webinar. And you can dive into these programs and go through the methodology, but you may not get the desired result in the end because you haven't seen the bigger picture.
You are absolutely nailing it on the head. Do you know, I have a client that now she has a great business. She just put another 75 people in one program and 25 in another, and she's just doing really good. And we're now innovating her business. So like she was saying, I really want to get known for teaching people how to create a tribe. And I said, don't be an info product. I said, don't be an info product. You'll kill your business. I said, yes, you teach people how to do her version of a telesummit, but what she does really well is the launch off the back end. And I said, but you want to lead with, she loves this cause thing, like having a cause in the world, right? And I said, connect your whole marketing to entrepreneurs who want to have a cause. Like the reason for going through your program is to ultimately serve into a bigger calling in their life, like a certain cause, and make that be their reason and do that really well. In the process, teach them how to list, build, and launch. Like people who are attracted to me, I have a work schedule of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Like I was done at 2:00 today, right? And other than coming back and interviewing with you. But I was done, and I was done at 2:00 yesterday too. Monday and Tuesday are my busiest days, right? Unless I'm in what we call a tempo, which I got out of my sports training. Tempoing is moving fast and hard. When we're doing an event or selling out a program, all hands are on deck, and we all work hard. And that might be for 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. But then we go into relax mode, which is what we're back into now. And for the next 6 weeks, we'll be in relax mode, and then we'll do a small little launch for List Power, and then we'll spend the rest of the year kind of just fulfilling. So my schedule really is about 32 to 36 hours a month. So if I don't want to grow, I make well into the 7 figures at that schedule. That's why people hire me. And so I say that because people are like, they're taking these, learn how to do a 6-figure webinar, but if they don't have a list, they can't do a 6-figure webinar, right? So we're really conditioned on showing people, those info products are great for, it's like, I don't think you should brand until you make $300,000. I think it's a waste of time and a waste of money. And I've said this to all my branding friends. Because you change your focus as you're growing and you're really kind of innovating who you are and what your business is all about. Saying that, it's like, I don't know. I guess what I'm just trying to say to you is like, I would love to see more credibility come out in the coaching industry where, I really think for us, we're really focused on becoming a training facility, a virtual training facility versus a coaching company. Because I think that coaching companies, for the most part, are really pushing a lot of info products. And I mean this with respect because there's a lot of people doing it right out there, and I totally bow down to them and stand shoulder to shoulder with them. I send people, my coach did something like $120,000 or $130,000 in referrals from me in like 3 weeks last year. And I am a business coach, but she was a better coach for these people. And I think that when we start doing business that way, where we're working with the right clients, we're teaching people how to actually be sustained in their life. It breaks my heart when I get somebody who's like, I went through so-and-so's program and it was interesting and I learned how to do a blog, and they spent $10,000 and they spent their last $10,000. And I'm like, that person has got maybe a husband at home that now if she spent their like savings account that now there's fights going on between them, I don't know. I think there's just there's two sides. The coaching industry needs to get responsible on what they're teaching, and the people need to start thinking differently. It's a 50-50 game there. They need to start thinking differently. What do you want? If it's to make money and you need to get that reoccurring income, you must build a list and you must know how to sell to it. Stop everything else. Stop Facebook, stop Twitter, stop blogging, stop podcasting, stop everything. Stop it. Stop putting your focus in those areas. Build a list and learn how to sell to it. Taking a step back for a minute for 90 days or a year to do that properly is a small price to pay to take all this brilliant marketing that y'all have learned and apply it to that foundation. It's like a house doesn't stay erect if it doesn't have the foundation built properly. It leaks, it breaks, it cracks. People are trying to build their business like that. And I know it's from an innocent standpoint because marketers are very good at selling their products, and which they should be. You need to get as smart at looking at what do I need so that you're not chasing money. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it can be very confusing for a lot of entrepreneurs because there's a lot of information that's out there about, you need to be on Facebook and, you've got to start a podcast. And, you could go seriously ADD, like batshit crazy, trying to master all these platforms.
All of it's great. Like, I totally want to get into podcasting. All of that's great. But here's a hint. You should never have more than one thing every month you're focusing on. Like when we're focusing on filling Pace Club, that's all we focus on. That's it. Like, I have no objective but to build a relationship with you, Lorna. That's why I'm on this podcast with you. Because I've got nothing to sell. We're not in the process of selling right now. We're sold out of Pace Club. That's where we're at. We're on just fulfillment time. It's basically a month of what we call flex time. And the last week of every month, our company shuts down so that we all have a flex week so that people can enjoy their lives. I told my assistant to go get a bigger life the other day. You know what I mean? Like, go do something fun. Here's your time to put something else as the priority because business doesn't need to be the priority right now. Something else can be until we go back into a sales priority, right? And then you need to bump that up to the top. So it's like all these things, like Facebook marketing is a huge percentage to me making incredible money in my business. I mean, I told you I made 6 figures in a month. Then, on top of that, it's a huge reason why my list builds on a monthly basis. It's also a huge reason why people know me really well because I'm super active on it, right? So do I think you need to become very strong on Facebook? Absolutely, but in the right order. In the right order, because only like 1% of your fan page, your business page, ever sees your posts anyway. And unless you're spending a lot of money on Facebook, you're not getting the exposure you think you're getting. So unless you can build a list and know how to sell to it and make great recurring income, do you see how the rest of it falls apart?
Completely. Wow. Okay, so so much great information here, but we're at the end of our interview. I'd love to leave you with this last favorite question. What is the most effective way to change the world, Shanda?
I always think of being on the plane goes down, you put the mask over your face. I think that it's time that people stop focusing on trying to change the world and start focusing on changing their own world. And I think the most effective way to make a difference in the world is it's kind of like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world. I think that people need to put the oxygen mask over their mouth first, and they should be having their life operating the way that they want it to be operating, making the income that they want, not settling for less, taking themselves on, really truly living a fulfilled life. And then I think through that, you make the biggest difference because everybody you come in contact with, like it's like, and I say this humbly because it really is humbly because obviously I live with myself on a daily basis and see who I am inside and out. And I constantly am told by my friends who now a lot of them coach with me now, say you're the same person on stage as you are off stage. And you just inspire people by the way that you think and you are. And I think that, and I wish that for everyone in your version, meaning that the unique thing that you are, I would just love everybody to take care of themselves and to put that mask over their face and start breathing the abundance, the oxygen that's around you every single day and loving life. And through that, you give permission to other people to do the same. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for that, Shanda. How can we best stay in touch with you?
Well, you can go to Heartcore Business, like heart and then core, CORE, business.com. And, you can always pop in and say hi to us. There's a Let's Talk app that pops up. If you have a question for us on business, there's a good chance you'll get me. I see all the requests that come in. Obviously, we have a coaching team and a staff that actually fields a lot of the questions, but a lot of times I answer them as well. So pop over to Heartcore Business, say hi. You can always subscribe and say hi to us on Facebook as well, which it's under Heartcore Business as well. So that's the best ways to stay in touch with us.
Thank you so much, Shanda. You have a beautiful rest of your day.
I will. It was great hanging with you. Thanks, Lorna.
Totally.
Thanks, folks, for listening to the Entrepreneurs for a Change podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please help us reach more people with inspiring stories like this one by giving us a 5-star rating in iTunes. If this podcast inspires you to join the movement of change-making entrepreneurs, we'd love to give you a jumpstart with our free Business Changemakers Toolkit, which you can download at www.entrepreneursforachange.com/join. If you have a changemaker in mind you'd love for us to interview, go to entrepreneursforachange.com/suggest and tell us who and why. Finally, feel free to stop by facebook.com/entrepreneursforachange to share your thoughts and say hello.